Hello, everybody. Welcome to the XP Billionaires podcast. We have got a full boat for you this week. I am so excited and happy. I've got Sky Knight and we have the Mel Zerker back from their little detour. Wherever you were, doesn't matter. We're just happy to have you back, of course.
Oh, you know me. I had to enter a video game and fight the boss, and I'm back now,
Oh man. I hope somebody chronicled that so that you get your own isekai anime. So that would be fun.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So let us say hello to everybody. This feels really good having a full squad. So Sky, how are you? What's up? What's new?
Not too much. I am mainly playing Pokemon Snap, the new Pokemon Snap at this point. Still, I've unlocked, I think, most of it now. I just have to finish off the story, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a real nice break from reality.
It really is. Like, there's just something so tranquil about it. And it was the same with the very first game. There was just something so unique and fun. And like, it really was one of my very first person perspective games, which, it was a first person shooter just in a different sense of the word. So it's so relaxing. It's like sitting back and just doing something familiar, being in the Pokemon world, and yet you're not catching the Pokemon, you're not fighting with them, you're not doing anything other than just admiring them naturally, which is really, I don't know, there's always been something about it. So like this has been really well received since it came out, and like and that's with good reason.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and hopefully it won't take as long for them to do another one.
No, exactly. All right, Mel, how are you doing? We heard about your little adventure there a second ago, but what else is going on?
Yeah. I have been getting into like old people puzzle games, I want to say.
Okay.
I'm playing lots of like those like solitaire and Sudokus, and I've been really into nonograms. So I started to play. It's called Murder by Numbers. It's a Switch game, and it's just a little cute little story about solving murders, and you're putting together cute little pixel art using nonograms. So that's been pretty fun.
There's something about calling a game about solving murders cute and fun. I don't know. I just feel like those two aren't supposed to mix normally.
Well, but they do in this one. It's got a very, very cute, fun aesthetic, and it's like very much like you're solving the murder, but you're not actually like a cop. You know what I mean? You're just like figuring it out with your little robot buddy.
I am somehow reminded of the dichotomy of Long Live the Queen, if anyone's familiar with that, where you have this very cutesy aesthetic with a brutal story and chibi death scenes aplenty. It's a fun.
I think you mentioned it to me once, but
yes, it's very, very special. Like, it's like cutesy anime, but it's like there are so many ways to die. It's ridiculous.
No ways that I don't think in this one, thankfully, but I one thing I think is really cute is like your little robot buddy is like scanning things, and the reason you're doing these little puzzles is because he's got terrible graphics software. So you're like trying to be like, what the heck is this? And you're like, oh, it's a key. But it's because his he's got this horrible pixelated thing where you get like 15 by 10, and you're like, I don't know what that is, buddy. We got to figure this out. It's like a fun way to get investigation tips, but also to explain why you're playing the game the way you are.
I mean, you always got to find the way, and as long as there's some sort of logic to it, then that makes it work. It's the same with any type of science fiction, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just It's doing what it's doing. It knows what it's doing, and that's all it needs to be.
All right, awesome. All right, well, let us jump right into this week's topic. So, for those of you who don't know, we are living in a part of the world that is still under stay-at-home orders. While I still have to go into work every day, I do get a little bit extra free time nowadays because I work reduced hours. And during all of that time, I've been thinking a lot about stuff that I should get into in terms of gaming. So there have been some RPG series that I just never really have taken the time to really dive into. Like even last year, I felt like I missed out on the Yakuza series and the Trails of the Cold Steel. I I just can't help but wonder what else I've missed out on at this point. So I thought this week it'd be fun to share with some of you guys, as well as everybody else, what some of those game series or games are that we haven't had the opportunity to get into. And who knows, maybe it'll inspire us to try something new, especially if one of us might have even played it before. So I think in order to get started, we should let Mel give us a go because she hasn't been here in a while. And I'm sure everybody wants to listen to more of Mel.
Yes, everyone pay attention to me. Yeah, so I mean, I had lots of ideas when thinking through this. There's lots of games where just based on the systems that I owned at various points in my life, I just missed out on things entirely. I'm going to talk though about Pillars of Eternity because everyone loves Pillars of Eternity. There's two of them, obviously.
Hold up, just 1 second, 1 second.
Sorry.
You have said on multiple occasions
I'm going to play it.
we're going to start this, and you still haven't.
I still haven't.
Oh.
I still haven't. Here's the thing: is it in my head? It is going to take so long to play that I have to like commit my energy to it because I'm not one of these people who can play a game and then like do it over the course of 2 months. I can't do that. I gotta live it. I gotta be putting in 7 hours a day. So I gotta find a week
Fair
to
enough.
just put into it because like I just know it's gonna pull me in. Like this is just one of those ones where like when you like there's every intention to play but you don't. And I guess that's what kind of had me thinking about it, right? Like why is it that some games are just like, I don't know, get to the back of your list and just never make their way to the front? And for me, a lot of it is like, length and like ability to like just get into it and really like enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like just give myself the space for it.
No, that's fair.
I've noticed that especially since lockdown, I like the familiar stuff, right? Like that, like Pokemon Snap, I'm feeling it, right? Like I'm excited, but like something new people to care about. So yeah, I mean that one's basically it's still on my short list. Keep sending me reasons to do it. I will do it. Before the third one's out. How about that? I'll make a rule.
All right. I mean, I want you to do it just to see if I was just really, really terrible at it or if it actually is really hard. Because like I played on the normal difficulty for a bit and I just had so much trouble. We've talked about it before, but one of the things I'm not a fan of are the radio wheels. I think you said you were okay with them, but I had a lot of problems properly programming my characters, at least while playing it on PS4. I wonder if maybe PC might be better for it, but yeah, that was a bit of a thing for me.
Yeah, I own it on PC, so that's my plan, is to try it on there. Yeah, I gotta like schedule it. What happened to gaming when I used to be able to just pick up a game and play it? Now I'm like, I gotta schedule it in for my day off.
It's this horrible thing called life. Like that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, to that point, like I had a lot of trouble with Pillars of Eternity. The one I thought that I could see myself going back to a lot sooner was Divinity Original Sin. There was something about the combat for that one that I was a little more interested in. I just when I started it, I wasn't feeling it at the time, so I've kind of shelved it for now. But I did get through enough to at least do some more of the combat, and that felt a lot more almost turn-based strategy-ish, which was a little bit better for me. Um, I felt it more manageable myself, so I'll probably get back to that one at some point.
Yep, definitely. Another one on my list. Stop giving me things to add to my list.
That's the whole point of this episode. We're trying to add or move games up on people's lists. That's the idea.
True. What it is all the game developers need to take a year off so I can catch up. Except don't, because I want Horizon. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. Alrighty, so let's move on to one of mine. Now before I start with mine, like I actually thought about this quite a while ago when we were in the pre-planning stages. And I realized that I have actually played the very first game in this series, but I don't think it was enough for me to really get fully immersed into the expansiveness of the series. And for me, that series is Ys. Like the reason I've taken so long to even consider this series is because there was somebody that I used to know who explained the main character, Adol Kristen. And it was in a way that just turned me completely off of wanting to play the series. So basically, what I was told was that Adol, I'm not actually sure. I'm hoping Adol because Adol sounds a little too iffy for me if you add a letter to his name. But anyway, so Adol was some guy who just shows up in a different part of the world in every different game. He meddles in that place's affairs and somehow becomes some hero of legend.
That's not a
So
great
like,
pitch.
no, like the whole concept. Like I'm a firm believer in the Prime Directive until it doesn't serve my purpose. Sorry, all you hardcore Federation people, but there are times when you break the Prime Directive. But this just sounds like he does it way too often. And while I realize it's his own world, like you just don't meddle in other people's business. That just seems like that's doing housekeeping in someone else's house. Like you don't know where that's supposed to go.
Yeah, like it just comes off as very flippant. Like, I guess I'll do this now when it's people's lives.
Yeah, exactly. Now, like from what I understand nowadays, that some of the more recent East games, East 8, East 9, possibly ones from before that, they're a lot longer, they're a bit more story heavy, and the combat is probably a lot more deep than the very first game, which originally came out on the NES, I believe. And there wasn't even an attack button. You just ran into enemies and poked them with your sword. That's how the fighting worked. So I'm hoping things have gotten a little better since, but it sounds like they at least have a little bit more depth, and there's probably a lot more to it than this initial explanation. So I do want to give the rest of the series a try. Should I play them in order? That's the big question. Like I've played East 1, there's 2 through 9 still. Then there's an East Origins, which is like a prequel something. So there's a lot here to go on. So
I had this question. I had that question when I played Uncharted. Like, should I start at the beginning? You know what I mean? Like, some of the game series are so long, but you're like, will I get that much more out of it?
Well, exactly. I mean, the very first East game did actually end on a bit of a cliffhanger. So, like, playing 2 is actually worth doing. But does that happen with each game, even though they're supposed to be some sort? Are they really that self-contained? I'm sure I'll get more out of it knowing the characters, but that's about it. Like that's what I'm thinking now.
If I remember correctly, what I read was that the Ys games aren't entirely in chronological order.
Oh, okay. So
Um, I don't remember any more than that, but there is some bouncing around, I believe.
okay, so there might be a Star Wars order in order to play it.
Yeah, I mean, that also depends on whether or not they're cross-referential or not.
Yeah.
I mean, to use my obvious usual example, I mean, Suikoden, right, which does bounce around a little bit. You know, I still recommend people to play them in release order because even when they bounce around in the timeline, there's still references to earlier games.
Yeah.
So it depends on how that's handled in this series.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, that's my biggest thought, and I will get through to them at some point and try a few more. Like I said, I've got two on the go. I usually see Origins, and I see 8 on sale often, and I keep thinking maybe I should just pick it up and try, but let's see. I'll do some more research on that and kind of figure it out. But yeah, let's move on to Sky. What's a game series you want to talk about that you have not gotten yourself into yet?
Well, this is a little bit of a strange one for me, but Yakuza. Um, technically,
Nice.
technically because I have watched Rafe play through the games, like I know a lot about what's gone on, but I've never played any of them myself. And then, you know, Yakuza Like a Dragon is out, which is turn-based, which is more my thing than the beat 'em up styles of the earlier titles. But I wouldn't mind actually seeing if I could get to the point where I could play the earlier titles. Maybe someday, I don't know. I didn't think I'd get to this point with actiony things, so I'm not taking it necessarily off the table. But at very least, I want to play Yakuza 7, and it sounds like they're going to continue on this route with turn-based titles, so I would like to play any others that they come out with.
Yeah, I was reading an interview with I don't remember who it was specifically, but it was one of the developers or one of the writers or anything. It sounds like the goal is to keep the turn-based style with the Yakuza right now, and turn Judgment into a beat 'em up series to just to keep the spirit alive. With the announcement of Lost Judgment, that might have actually been where I saw that from. It might have actually been part of the launch, but I don't remember exactly where. But that's essentially the expectation.
Yeah. So that does sort of, you know, knowing that they don't intend for this to be a one-off, that does kind of pique my interest in the series more generally, from this point forward, anyway.
Oh, absolutely, and I I think you do all right with the beat 'em up combat. I think it'll depend on who you're playing as or what style you use with Kiryu. You do have to kind of flick between the two in the Yakuza 0 and 1. You have to flick between the styles, but some are easier to use than others. I found. I know in Kiwami, I really like Kiryu's speed form with the blue aura. It's very fast, very dodgy. I found it fairly intuitive and easy to use. So I think you probably end up doing something similar, but you do have to use all of the styles in certain situations.
Yeah, that's something I can build up towards over time. No rush on that, but I would like to play Like a Dragon soon-ish. I'm in no particular rush, but I am looking forward to playing it myself. Maybe once, you know, memories of your playthrough have faded a bit.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I think the overall story was really good there. So yeah, you'll have no problem staying invested in it. I did do a quick fire review of it on our website, so be sure to check that out too if you have any kind of quick questions or anything like that about the game. I gave a decent list of pros and cons to it, but overall a very, very positive review on that. So definitely check that out. Remember, xpbillionaires.ca is our website. So if you want to check it out while you're listening, by all means do so. But you know what? That said, we've got some time, so why don't we each mention a second choice? So Mel, what else haven't you played that you would really, really like to consider?
Yeah, the other one that's on my short list is the Witcher series. I've played none of the Witcher games. I've watched the show. This is sort of a weird one because my partner played it, and I happened to see one quest basically straight through, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I was like, this is so gross. This is badly designed. Why is this the plot? I don't want to play a game in this world. And like, you know, as I've learned more about the series and things, it seems like maybe it was, you know, every game has its bad, you know, quests in it. So maybe I should give it a try and see what it's like when you're actually in the game, as opposed to kind of just seeing it from the outside.
Are you willing to tell us which quest it was that you were talking about? Because I've got a theory, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, so and here's the other thing, is I don't remember all the details. I don't remember what it's called, but it's one of the quests where you hunt this guy down, and he's been doing like sex crimes and things, and just the way that they talk about it. I believe it's a Witcher 3 quest. It was just like, oh, gross. And like, if there's one gross guy in a game, like, fine. But at the time, I was definitely like, what the hell? Why is this game being so gross?
Okay, that's definitely not the one I was thinking of, but yeah, I was wondering about the dead baby one that I did that was in, the one that I ended up doing when I was playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of that one too. There's quite a few that are like, what are you doing here? This is like, I don't know if they're trying to be edgy or what, but
The world has always been kind of written that way, from my understanding. But the good news on that is that it is an incredibly sandboxy game. So if you don't want to do those quests, you can just kind of skip past them and do the others. I think there's plenty to keep Geralt nice and like leveled up.
right? Yeah, like that was just kind of the thing. It just was this very weird instance where I saw this one segment of the game and I was like, that seems gross. And then over the course of, you know, months, people started talking about the game more, and I was like, oh, huh, like that doesn't seem to stand with what I thought of it. So,
Well, that's it. I mean, it's apart from like the grossness of it, it's the same with me and East. Like, you just get an impression of it that rubs you the wrong way or just doesn't interest you, and then that perception of it can change as you get more and more information.
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, and of course there's 3 of them, and I know 3 doesn't seem like much compared to some series, but I'm always like, but then do I have to play all of them? Should I just play the recent one? So again, the great question of like, where do you start in a series?
No, exactly. All right. Well, another one that I have not played is a singular title. And it's not that I haven't necessarily played it, it's just that I haven't really invested myself into it. And I wonder if people are going to get mad at me for this one, but that is Chrono Trigger. Every time I try to give this game a chance, I just something about it keeps me from wanting to continue, and I don't know exactly what it is. Like, it's got it apart from it being a Super Nintendo game, like the main art is by Toriyama, which I'm all for. And yeah, I have not been able to give it the fair chance that I do think it deserves, because it does get a lot of hype. It does get a lot of positive feedback, not as heavy as, you know, the Final Fantasy fan community, but it gets the hype from what I guess I would say is the right kind of fan base. So yeah, I really do need to give it another shot. I mean, it should be easy enough. I could just get it for my phone and kind of go from there. But yeah, I really need to get into playing it.
Do you be careful if you try that, because some of those Square Enix mobile ports are disastrous.
Yeah, I have heard that. So yeah, I mean, I'll look at my options and try to kind of figure it out from there. You have a copy of it though.
Yes, I have it on PC. I tried it. I honestly, what I played of it made me feel nothing.
Fair enough.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
not good, not bad. Just
no, nothing. I was just like, oh, this. I mean, it looks nice. ...
That that's a praise.
It's something. It's a start.
Yeah,
it's probably one of those ones that just gets deeper and deeper as you go, but you have to get there. And we've talked about that a lot. You can't just want us to get to the good part without having something good to make us want to get to the good part.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, they start you on this adventure, and I don't know, I just found that there was nothing to get me invested in the characters. So it was just like, well, okay, then why am I bothering, you know? Like, frankly, I find games that are overhyped deeply suspicious because they tend not to be looking at the product with realistic eyes. And, you know, Chrono Trigger is just like a monolith among JRPGs, and then I play it and it's just like, well, this makes me feel nothing, so I guess things never change.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. All
at
right.
Very least that's better than Final Fantasy VII just making me angry. So I'll take it.
But at least you felt something for that game. I don't know. Is it better feel nothing or something bad?
Well,
I'm always torn on this one.
I would rather feel nothing. A game very rarely, like, I mean, this is something we do for fun. Like, a game will very rarely make me angry. But I find it very confusing that how certain games are held up as, like, monoliths and hugely influential and all that. And others are just like, well, you know, hey, we have a better plot, but I guess there is no secret to it. It's all about what gets the marketing and the wide release, right? It's not about quality. Oh man, this is me bitching about this again. Here we go. But you know, like, the guy who wrote Chrono Trigger wrote the first Batten Kaitos, a game that made me care so fucking much. And then I play this and it's just like, meh. I don't know. I don't get it.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, why don't you give us another series that you do want to play then? Now that you've talked about stuff you vehemently aren't happy with.
Actually, I was thinking of Fable. I have them. I just have not gotten to them. I've always been kind of intrigued by Fable. I saw a little bit of it when they were. I think it was the first one when I was a teenager. And then, but of course, they were Xbox exclusive for the longest time. I mean, they're on PC now, of course, as most of those things are. But I've just not gotten to it, and we only got an Xbox 360 a couple of years ago, so it hasn't even really been an option for us for very long. It's just been sitting in my backlog. But, you know, as complicated and grandiose and pig-headed as Peter Molyneux is, he's created some pretty strange and interesting shit. So I'm curious.
Well, that's fair. I mean, sometimes curiosity can come into a lot of different forms. So, and you know, why not? Like,
well, and I am trying to play more Western RPGs generally, but one of the problems I have been having is finding ones that don't bore me to tears, because Western fantasy is so cookie cutter a lot of the time. You just don't see as much of the wild creativity as you do in the Japanese stuff, which is, I live for that wild creativity. But I have played a couple of Western RPGs that I've liked, and I want to do more. So the Fable games are something I want to try, just because it's one of those ones where, I do have a little bit of interest.
No, that's cool. You know what we should do? I can't remember if it's something you can do in the first one or not, but I know Divinity 2 has a co-op mode. So it might be fun to figure out a way for us to do that together. That way we can both get like a Western RPG under our belts. Kind of have fun with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's more that generally speaking, I am very tired of Western Western fantasy tropes specifically, which are so prominent in Western RPGs. And then the stuff that isn't fantasy, typically I'm not terribly interested in. For example, stuff like something had come to mind and I lost it. Stuff like Fallout and
post-apocalyptic?
Yeah, that's just not really my thing. Even I tried Mass Effect, but maybe now that the Legendary Edition is out, I'll be able to play it. But if I can't play a series in order, like, I'm just not that interested, and the Mako made me rage quit.
Oh man, I love that Mako. I know they fixed it. Man, nothing like doing a flip and being like a turtle in a car.
You actually can do the old school style in the Legendary Edition, right?
Because some of us terrible people like me were like, yes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if the controls work for you, that's great, but when they don't, they really don't. Like, I've played a few games like that. Like, people wax poetic about Shenmue, and don't get me wrong, I love Shenmue, but holy crap, that control scheme has problems. But that's a digression.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right. So that's going to be it. Those are some of the games that we still need to play in our vast and bountiful lives. We have such a large collection of RPGs, and we can't get to them all. We do the best we can with what we've got, but well, here's hoping we can get to a few more before time catches up to us. But what are some series that you guys haven't gotten into yet? Let us know. You can do that through our group email. That's xpbillionaires@gmail.com. Or you can hit us up on our social media. You can find me on Twitter at billionairesxp, or you can find me on Instagram at Rafe Thegrin. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and skyknight.xp on Instagram, if I ever use Instagram again.
Here's hoping. And Mel, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Feminist Gamer or Twitter at FeministGamer3. And you can check out D4 Adventures, which is streaming on Twitch every Wednesday.
Awesome. And as I mentioned before, xpbillionaires.ca is your one-stop shop for everything XP Billionaires. Quickfire reviews, written pieces, the weekly RPG writing roundup. Did it again. And if you are interested in donating to us to help support the channel, you are more than welcome to do so, and that all the links will be there. Again, xpbillionaires.ca. All right, so that's going to be it for us this week. And just remember, the fact that you may or may not have played all of them or an entire series yet gives you an excuse to keep gaming. So think about that, and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.